Apple Core Homestead. Today we're going to do part 2 of how to make blackberry wine. First, I will tell you about the equipment you will need. You will need your bucket full of your fermenting berries. You will also need a large carboy. This one is a 6.5 gallon carboy, and I'm using that one instead of a 5-gallon carboy because I want room. This one is super active, and I want room at the top for all of those bubbles to go up in hopes that it won't completely clog my airlock. Speaking of airlocks, you will need one. This is the type I'm using today. There's lots of different kinds. They all have the same function, and it's really just, you know, whatever kind you prefer to use. I have a spoon here. I may need that in dealing with this a little bit. There is a bag of fruit in here that's going to need to be removed. I have a hydrometer here. I have an auto siphon, as well as the racking cane and tubing that goes with it. And I have a wine thief here. It's kind of dripping. I sanitized it all this morning, so it's still a little bit wet, but perfectly safe to use. I use Easy Clean, by the way. If you watch my wine videos, you probably know that already. It's really simple to use. You just mix it up. You don't even have to rinse it. You don't have to scrub anything. You don't have to rinse it with water. So you just rinse your equipment with the Easy Clean solution and then just let it air dry. Last but not least, we have a bottle of Everclear here, and that's to fill the airlock later on. That's going to be like basically our last step of the day. You don't have to use Everclear. I use it because I just have an overabundance of it, and it's perfectly suitable for this application. You can also use some kind of sanitized water, probably distilled or something. Don't quote me on that. I purely just use Everclear, and or maybe even just like regular vodka, you could use that too. I know there are people who use water, so if you don't want to fuss with, you know, any of the hard alcohol, just do a quick search on how or what type of water to put into your airlock if that's what you want to do, but don't just use plain faucet water. This bucket here has been doing its thing, bubbling away and fermenting for 7 days now. I don't know if I said this already. If I didn't say this at the beginning, I will insert part 1 up here for you guys to check out. And I will also right now put in a photo of what this looks like, although I am going to take you around to get a better look. I'm just not sure. This bucket weighs a ton. I actually had to have my husband come and pick it up because it was too heavy for me. I can lift it up and put it down, but getting it up, and it's, you know, pretty high up here, it puts a lot of strain on my shoulders. So it was nice to have an extra set of hands to get this up on the counter. Excuse me. And the reason why you want this up high is because the auto siphon works with gravity. So as we put this, these tools into this bucket, we're going to have the carboy on the ground, and it will, you know, that liquid will flow from up here to down there, and it just works a lot better that way. So I couldn't work with this on the ground. I'm going to swap you guys around to a different angle so you can see what I'm working with a little bit better, and we will move right into racking our wine into the secondary. All right, you're at a better angle now. You can see the bucket, and you'll be able to see the carboy when I put it on the ground. The first thing we're going to do is remove the cotton covering from the top. And there's a close-up of what it looks like. Our first order of business is to get this bag of fruit out of the bucket and into this trash can lined bucket here. And that's really just to protect the floors and just prevent mess. It's blackberries, you guys. It's gonna stain. You can give the bag a little good squeeze before or as you're pulling it up. Get all the goodness out of there. And then of course it's up to you what you want to do with the fruit. I don't recommend that you give it to your chickens because alcohol is forming here. I'm gonna put mine on my compost. Now at this point, if you want, you can go ahead and check the gravity, or you can do it after you put it into your carboy. It doesn't really matter. Either way is fine. And I think I'll do it right now. You'll want to grab your wine thief and your hydrometer with the heavy end down. It's going to go in here and you'll spin it, but first you want to get the wine in there. All right, let's give this a try. My wine is leaking out a little bit. All right, there we go. I'm just gonna hold this over. Hopefully you can see this all right. Give it a good spin. And you wanna read your hydrometer right in the middle at the dip. As you can see, like the water kinda, or not the water, the wine is a little bit curved. The lowest level right there in the center is the reading that you wanna make note of. And go ahead and mark that down and put that in your little journal or whatever you are using to keep track of your gravity. And that reading was a 1.088, which doesn't surprise me. It's nothing to be concerned about. So what we're going to do now is get our auto siphon ready. And it is installed like this. So you've got your tubing and you've got your hard piece here. That's the piece that gets inserted. It's called the racking cane, and it gets inserted into the auto siphon. Go ahead and push it all the way down so it looks like that. And then this large end here is going to go into the bucket, whereas the flexible tubing is going to go into the carboy. In order to activate it, you'll just give it a couple of good pumps, making sure that your tube does not come out of your carboy, otherwise you're going to make a huge mess. And that's it. It'll just go ahead and flow on its own, and I will go ahead and give you a nice close-up of that. One thing I forgot to mention to you guys is when you're transferring the wine from the primary into the secondary, make sure to leave all of the gunk and the goo at the bottom of the bucket. Make sure to leave that in the bucket. You don't want to transfer that into here. But anything that did get transferred over and the bubbles that come up and make a foamy mess and all that, eventually all of that will float to the bottom as the yeast eats the sugar, and all that die-off will go down to the bottom. So our last step today is to install the airlock, and you'll just put the rubber bung in there and pop this right on top, and you want it to have a nice good seal. And this goes right on the top, and then you'll add your Everclear or whatever medium you're using. Fill it halfway full, and you'll start to see it bounce up and down. And that just shows you that the gases in here are escaping and it's working and doing its job. The wine is, and the airlock. And then this particular airlock has little holes on the lid, and that's for the gases to escape, but the critters and bugs and dust and stuff to stay out. You will also want to keep an eye on your airlock. You do not want it to run dry. So make sure you check it, just walk by it every few days, make sure that it's still got fluid in it. And if you don't see your airlock bubbling, you guys don't freak out. I did have one batch and it turned out amazing, and I never did see it bubble, but it totally fermented and did its thing and it was awesome. But most of the time you're gonna see this action here, if you guys can see it. So anyways, that's pretty much the last step here. Right now, we are just going to set it out of the sunlight and just kind of leave it alone. Other than checking the airlock, we're not going to touch it. We're not going to jostle it. We don't have to stir it. We're just going to leave it alone for a couple of months. After 2 months, like just put a note on your, your calendar or whatever to go and check it after a couple of months. And you're going to be looking for a couple of things. You want to see, is it still doing this? Is it still bubbling up here? Because if it is, it's not finished yet. Another thing you can look at is you can shine your flashlight through here, and you'll be able to see millions of tiny little bubbles floating all the way up to the surface, and it looks really cool. Once that action has stopped, it is then time to check the gravity to make sure it is below 0.999. Once it's at that stage, then you have two choices. You can either bottle it, or you can rack it again to allow it to clear, and that is typically what I do. I choose the latter, and after this is all done fermenting, I'm gonna swap it over to another carboy and get it off of what's called the lees. That's what they call, there's like a strip down here of all of the dead yeast. And yeah, so I take it off of that, put it in a new carboy, let it clear even some more, so probably another couple months after that. Now, I don't always do a video for that stage. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I don't. Kind of depends on whether or not I have intentions of back sweetening it, because I like to show you that process. So in a couple of months, once this fermentation is finished, I may come back with a part 3 just to show you what the gravity reading is, what it looks like sitting on the lees, just so you can kind of get a visual of all of that. And then we can taste it. We can do a taste test together and see, is it sweet enough? I'm kind of thinking I might have overdone it on the sugar a little bit. I was expecting to make a dry wine. This is going to be more like a dessert wine, I think, which is totally fine. A lot of people like their blackberry wine sweet. I wanted it dry, but I guess I got a little heavy-handed with the sugar. Anyways, it'll still be good. I'm pretty confident of that. You'll just have to drink it in, little sips. So that is something to look forward to for a part 3 video. The more I talk about it, the more I think I am going to do that for you guys so you can see it. Part 4 will be bottling. All very interesting and different kind of stages and topics and things to talk about. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything for you guys as I'm doing these series. I can't think of anything else I need to tell you about for part 2. So I will see you guys in a couple of months, and we will talk about back sweetening, we'll talk about clearing, we'll talk about all of those kinds of things. And if you really just don't care about the Blackberry stuff right now and you just want to know, well, what does that look like? I will link up part 3 of making Concord grape wine, because it's really the same process, and that way you can see what that looks like right away. I thank you very much for watching this video. Please consider becoming a member and supporting me in the work that I do here. And as always, I appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Bye!